In this video, we're going to go over some material that is relating to SOL standards 2 through 4. If you guys can think back to our units this year, those units would be related to early man, our river valley civilizations, and Persia and units such as that. So this would be stuff that was primarily covered in the first quarter. And if you guys just follow along, I'm going to go through this PowerPoint. You can pull this PowerPoint down off of my Fusion page as well if you want to go through it on your own. And obviously, if you want to pause it ahead of things and take your best guesses, go right ahead. Without further ado, here we go. Alright, the scientific name for early man is Homo sapiens. Okay, Homo sapiens emerge in blank between 100,000 and 400,000 years ago, and the answer there is Africa. Homo sapiens are going to migrate from Africa into Eurasia, Europe and Asia, eventually Australia, and then lastly down into the Americas. Early societies are nomadic. They're hunter-gatherers. Remember, we don't have the ability to farm an early man, so we move around in small groups and we follow our food. Alright, our first tools were made primarily of stone, sometimes animal bones. Paleolithic era is also referred to as the Old Stone Age. Remember, lithic means Stone Age, paleo means old. Okay, the New Stone Age is also known as the Neolithic era. Again, lithic meaning stone, neo meaning new. Now, identify whether the following describes the Paleolithic or Neolithic eras. Developed first tools, that one's paleo. Nomadic, paleo. Created pottery, neo. Okay, they had time to sit around and do that. Oral language is going to occur during Paleolithic times. We harness fire during Paleolithic times. We learn how to domesticate and control animals during the Neolithic period. Our ancestors create cave art during Paleolithic times. We developed the ability to weave in the Neolithic period, and we are hunter-gatherers during Paleolithic times. What revolution takes place during the Neolithic age that separates the two? The answer to that is the agricultural revolution. We developed the ability to farm. Blank is studying past cultures by locating and analyzing human remains, settlements, fossils, and artifacts, and that is archaeologists are those people. The following Neolithic site in that picture is Stonehenge, located in Great Britain. And the following archaeological sites are located, well, Jericho's in the Fertile Crescent, Catalhayek is in Anatolia, and Aleppo is also in the Fertile Crescent. Identify the rivers upon which the following civilizations are located. The Egyptians are on the Nile River. The Indians initially develop on the Indus River. The Chinese are on the Huanghe, or Yellow River. And the Mesopotamians developed between the Tigris and the Euphrates River. And then these other three civilizations that we need to know, the Hebrews are the green. The Nubians are a little bit down from the Egyptians in Africa, the blue there, and the Phoenicians are our red, just north of the Hebrews. True or false, early civilizations possessed rigid class systems and various forms of slavery, and the answer to that is true. True or false, early forms of centralized government avoided any religious connection. That is false. These governments were very usually theocracies. Remember, in Egypt we had Pharaoh was the king and considered to be a god on earth. The structure in this picture is a ziggurat, a form of pyramid or temple that was located in Mesopotamia, or would be found in Mesopotamia. Well-preserved example of early written law code is the Code of Hammurabi, and then the other one is the Ten Commandments. Okay, the Code of Hammurabi would be Babylonian law code produced by Hammurabi, and then the Ten Commandments, obviously, are of biblical note. Now, what developments are going to aid to an agricultural surplus during these early Bronze Age civilizations? Metal tools are first bronze tools. The development of the plow and irrigation is going to lead to more surplus food, extra food, better growing abilities, and is going to lead to eventually the creation of trade. A sequence of rulers from the same family is often known as a dynasty. We will see this many different times throughout our studies here. Most early religions were blank, meaning they believed in many gods. A religion that believes in many gods is polytheistic. So they have different gods, and usually our polytheistic religions are using their gods to explain things. They'll have mystical powers. The best example being Poseidon controlled the seas as the Greek god of the seas. When he got angry, the seas would boil. When Zeus, the king of the gods, got angry, lightning would be hurled down from the heavens. Okay, those are examples of polytheistic religions. They use them to explain natural phenomenons. Our first successful monotheistic religion, meaning they believed in one god, are the Hebrews, Judaism. And a couple of notes on Judaism. Father of our original Hebrew nation, or the founder of the Jews, is Abraham. Abraham actually is traced as the root not just for the Hebrews, but also for the Christians and the Muslims, trace their lineage back to Abraham. Holy text for the Hebrews is the Torah. Holy city is Jerusalem. Moses leads the Exodus and takes his people out of Egypt and slavery and back to their homeland. And then the term, when we're referring to Hebrews being dispersed from their homeland, it's a specific term. It's known as the diaspora. Identify the following. The Egyptian writing system is known as hieroglyphics. Our Sumerian writing system is cuneiform. And then the people that develop our first alphabet is the Phoenicians, which will eventually influence the Greeks and lead to the creation of our alphabet. A pictogram is when character or symbol that represents a word or an object. Moving on. Now, how did Cyrus the Great treat the conquered peoples of the Persian Empire? Remember when we talked about the Persian Empire, we said they were important because they were a blueprint and example of many themes and common themes we would see amongst successful empires. Cyrus the Great was a perfect example of this. He respected their customs and religions and was tolerant of conquered people. Tolerance of conquered people is something that we're going to see regularly when it comes to successful empires. The religion of the Persian Empire, which focused on two opposing universal forces, one being good, one being evil, and there ultimately being a judgment day, was known as Zoroastrianism. The Persian Empire was connected by the Royal Road. This was another example of successful empires. Things that we will see occur regularly is building of roads to speed up travel and make trade more efficient. The geographic boundaries which made the invasion of the Indian subcontinent difficult, well, primarily you've got the Himalayan mountains to the northeast, you've got the Hindu Kush mountains to the northwest, and then you have the Indian Ocean. So the subcontinent is kind of separated from Asia, which it was for a very, very long time. Now, evidence of the Indus River Valley civilization, society, and government structures are demonstrated by the cities Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. Those are cities in India that you need to know that were along the Indus River Valley. Eventually, India is going to fall to some invaders who are going to bring with them some important things. These invaders are known as the Aryans. They travel through the Khyber Pass and the Hindu Kush as they invade. And then the social system they bring with them is known as the caste system. This is around the year 1750, about the same time Hammurabi is writing law codes in Babylon. Alright. Civilization within the Indian subcontinent originally settles along the Indus River and later will move east to the other big river you need to know, the Ganges. Now, which Mauryan leader is responsible for spreading Buddhism, establishing free hospitals, and constructing good roads? The answer to that is Asoka. Asoka did not found Buddhism. Siddhartha Gautama did. Asoka spread Buddhism. The golden age of Indian culture is known as the Gupta Empire. Contributions from this time period include the discovery of the concept of zero. They figure out that the earth was round. The language known as Sanskrit, and then they also spread Hinduism as well. The deity belief of Hinduism is known as henotheism with an H, and it believes in many forms of one god. So they have one god who they believe takes on many different forms to interact with them. Rebirth based upon previous actions is known as reincarnation. Hindus and Buddhists alike, but Hindus primarily believe in reincarnation. As I was saying, the Hindus believe in reincarnation, which is rebirth based on previous actions. They also believe that thoughts and actions have future consequences, and they refer to this as karma. So your behaviors, your thoughts will have future consequences. Has a direct tie-in with reincarnation. If you generate good karma throughout your life, you will be reincarnated into a better caste. If you generate bad karma, you'll fall into a lower caste. The sacred texts of Hinduism are known as the Vedas and the Upanishads. And Hinduism spreads, as most religions will throughout the year, by trade routes. Alright, now with Buddhism, the founder of Buddhism is Siddhartha Gautama. It is founded in northern India, which is actually modern-day Nepal. And the basic principle is the Four Noble Truths, which have to deal with life being suffering. And the fourth noble truth is the path to end suffering, which is known as the Eightfold Path. In Buddhism, one must follow the Eightfold Path in order to reach enlightenment, which they refer to as nirvana. Alright, the first emperor of United China is Qi Huangdi. Two construction projects initiated by this individual and one of the few emperors of the Qin dynasty are the Great Wall and then his mausoleum, which becomes the Terracotta Army. So while he does not rule for very, very, very long, he's in power for maybe 20 years, and that's the extent of the Qin dynasty. The Qin dynasty is credited with the creation of the Great Wall of China, and then with our emperor's mausoleum, which is where we find the Terracotta Army, the clay soldiers. Alright. Trade interaction between China and Rome and Western Europe is facilitated by the Silk Roads, which is the name for the trade routes between China, India, the Middle East, and eventually Europe. Contributions of classical China are going to include the creation of a civil service system where people would take tests when they came of age and be placed into a role in government that suited them. They also had the creation and use of paper, porcelain, and silk. Now, identify whether the following are characteristics of Confucianism, Taoism, or both. These are both Chinese religions. Belief that humans are good is primarily Confucianism, but ideally both of them. Confucians believe that humans are at their core good and can be educated. Humility is a Taoism thing. Respect for elders is Confucianism. They do believe in respecting your elders and that the single greatest way that you can advance yourself is by aging. There's a code of politeness that comes from Confucianism. Taoism believes in living a simple life. Confucianism places an emphasis on education. Taoism places an emphasis on living in harmony with nature. Taoism also wants you to find inner peace in that harmony with nature. Ancestor worship, again, Confucianism, their respect for elders goes into ancestor worship, and then the yin and yang are going to represent opposites in both cases. Now, both religions are going to have a great impact on the development of Chinese society, and generally Chinese society and social order is going to be a blending of portions from both of them. Code of politeness, live in a simple life, be in harmony with nature, ancestor worship, humility. Okay, all of these come from both religions. And that's the end of this video. There will be more to come.